If Spotify has taught us anything, it's that people love a year-end recap. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the best watch releases to come out in the year 2021. I'm Thomas of Chrono24 in New York, and before we begin, let me remind you, Chrono24 is running a substantial $10,000 giveaway. The description below has details on how to enter, and we'll announce a winner once we hit 100,000 subscribers. Now, when we come up with a year-end list, we could name a handful of favorites that come to mind and call it a day. But what may be more interesting is to examine the broader trends that developed this past year and look at key releases that exemplify those trends. First and foremost, people continue to spend a lot of money on watches. This includes rising prices for Rolex, AP, and Patek on the secondary market, and for the auction houses which consistently produce astronomical hammer prices, even for a steel time and date watch with a dial the same color as a jewelry box, but to each his own. A rising tide raises all ships, and it's not just the big brands getting a lift. This influx of capital increased confidence among brands and consumers, which has led to some welcome risk-taking with more recognition for independence, more colorful products, and some even renewed enthusiasm for precious metals. Let's start with the continued rise of the independents. The market has more brands than ever, and collectors are more educated than ever. This is pushing people to the outer reaches of the brand universe, causing increasing excitement on the auction front for watchmakers like F.P. Journe, Roger Smith, and MBMF. But it's also cool to see affordable micro brands releasing fantastic timepieces. Watches like the Baltic MR01 and the Furlan Mari Mecha Quartz chronograph sold out almost immediately and command high demand on the secondary market. They both pull from Patek's design language, but in a way that feels tasteful and not cheap or gimmicky. I'm also excited by watches like the Moto 1 Fume from Enardane with its gorgeous dials, by the impressively invented design and engineering behind the Trilobe Nuit Fantastique, by the super funky Metro chronograph by Brew Watch Co., and anything released by Ming. Let's talk about color, shall we? Green dials were the color of the year, of course. We did a whole separate video about this, including what I think will be the next big color. But other hues got their moment in the spotlight this year as well. We saw many colorful Rolex dials, which is a nice change of pace for a very risk-averse brand. We saw a suite of red, blue, and green tanks from the Mousse de Cartier line, and we saw even more colors of the rainbow with watches like the Breitling Premier B09 and the Datsa Sub 300. The Technicolor Rolex OP offerings were an instant hit. That yellow in particular is just scrumptious. And I even think more daring options like the Palm Dial Datejust will warm up over time. I love to be a contrarian, so let's end on a somewhat debatable note. I think 2021 may have signaled a renewing enthusiasm for precious metals. I must admit the two-tone Rolex Explorer is growing on me. I did say back in April on this very channel that I hated this watch. But look, Rolex has operated more as a luxury brand than a two-watch brand for a long time, and the Explorer has always been the dressiest of its sport watches. So why not the Explorer? 2021 also saw the release of a silver Tudor Black Bay 58, the 925. And while not a precious metal per se, 2021 continued to be a huge year for bronze, with a bronze Tudor BB58, a 42mm Panerai submersible bronzo, a bronze Omega Seamaster 300 to name just a few. We can only do so much steel for so long. It's a pendulum swing, and I think we may be on the backswing towards precious metals. Many people speculate the 5711 will be replaced by a precious metal Nautilus, but only time will tell if 2022 will be one of our golden years. Now, there were a lot of watches released this past year. It was a very robust time for the industry. What did we miss? What did you love? What did you hate? What do you want to see next year? Drop a comment below. Be sure to like and subscribe as well. I'm Thomas of Chrono24 in New York. We'll have more videos coming out all the time. And in the meantime, enjoy your watches.